Good evening everyone and welcome to your planning meeting. First of all, the minutes of the previous meeting. Is it your wish I sign the correct record?
Agreed.
Thank you.
Well, I wasn't here, so I can't really agree.
Apologies for absence.
Apologies for Councillors Daniel Cribbin, Malcolm Longley and Kevin Parcher.
I think that's a full house otherwise, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Members' interests. Disclose of all interests.
No.
No, right. Party whip arrangements?
No.
We don't get together, members of the public, in any group, either political or otherwise, to decide how we're going to vote. We listen to all the arguments first. Thought we'd mention that. Right, a bit of housekeeping for you. If the fire alarm bell rings, please go through the main doors the way you came in, and stay outside till you're told to come back in. Please switch your mobile devices to silent. If they go off, if it's a NAMS tone, it's 10 tone. If it's an orange tone, it's 5 tone to the chairman's charity. So if you want to pay money, leave your phones on. Proceedings are being recorded. There are no speakers, so nobody will be allowed to speak. Please don't clap, hiss, blue cheer or anything like that. I don't think you go into... You four look very quiet, I'm sure. And you will see people talking the same time perhaps as other people talking. That looks bad manners, but it's the only way officers can get answers to queries that members or members of the public, but not in this case, are making. Right, a couple of things to tell committee. First of all, committee, if you're considering standing for the unitary authority, we're going to invite any of you, one at a time preferably, along to the informative chairman's meeting that we have beforehand, so that you know what happens, what goes on, because perhaps one of you will be chairman when I sort of disappear anyway. So it would, if you do want to come to the chairman's briefing, you're very welcome to come along and listen and hear what happens. So just tell the clerk and Maria, and I'm sure it'll be arranged. Now,
Chair,
yes?
I wonder if you could explain, I haven't really a obvious idea, briefing on what?
Briefing on the meeting tonight. It's where perhaps we might see applications that could be delegated that are still on the agenda, and perhaps we talk about that. The members, which is the chairman.
Sorry, you're referring to yourself as the chair of this committee, is this it?
Yeah, if I want to clarify, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, before every planning committee meeting, usually in this room, very rarely been anywhere else, the chairman and vice chairman are briefed on the committee. So we just look at the information, we decide if more information needs to be added to the briefing, we consider what's to be delegated, and just so everyone understands the issues. So it's that element is only usually the chairman and the vice chairman, but what we're saying is we would encourage the councillors to come along to the briefing to see how that works.
Okay.
Wait, so who's the vice chairman?
It was Kevin Parker.
It's the person on
Well, he is, but he's not here.
He's one of the best attenders on the committee, I can assure you.
So,
but he's
is
not
he the
here.
vice chairman every?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
but when he's not here, he's not.
No.
When he's not here, he is still vice chairman.
Who's vice chair when he's not here?
If I wasn't here, you'd have to elect one
Yes, you'd like.
between yourselves.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks to you.
Before that, I was vice chairman.
So don't forget, if any of you are interested, just come along and well, don't just come along. Say first, and you're very welcome to come along and see what happens then. So then you'll know what happens at these meetings. Right, 3 applications. The application in Crick, that's been withdrew by the applicant this evening. He's going to make, or so he says, he's going to make significant changes that will affect his application, and he has a short time to do that. And if he doesn't, it will be a delegated refusal. But he's asked that it be withdrawn tonight so that he can make those give additional information which should be significant. I think that's correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
The second application, what's the number?
0594, Chairman.
0594, Chairman, is a delegated approval. That is, if you've read your minutes, that is a wall in Daventry. The reason it came to committee is because the town council said it's out to keep him. Well, that particular house is on the turning of is on the turning of the side turning. It continues into the side turning, where the identical house on the other side turning was a year ago given planning permission to put exactly the same wall in where this has a hedge. It looks absolutely fantastic. In fact, it probably looks better than the hedge. So it can't be out of keeping. It looks completely in keeping, so there's no reason to refuse it. So it's a delegated approval. And the second one, which is in Overston, which again, if you've read your minutes, you probably smiled at it. It's a bin store in the front yard.
Yes.
It could be many other things. But it's a delegated approval. It may not have needed planning permission, but anyway, it's a planning application that has approval. So a significantly shorter evening it should be for you. So, saying that, we go on to the first application, which is 1034 on Zinkitzton.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a site within Pittsburgh Village, and it's on site as existing. It's got a large dwelling with a large conservatory to the side of it. It's also got quite a large plot of land associated with Meadow View. The proposal is for the demolition of part of the existing conservatory and the construction of a dormer bit property dwelling. The access is off Grange Road and it will be shared with Meadow View itself, so 2 properties and a shared pedestrian access. The proposal will not result in a detrimental impact on the character of the locality as it's similar to the existing building on site. Concerns have been raised regarding backland development. It is considered that the proposed dwelling will not have the additional impact with its dormer windows to the amenities of the adjoining neighbours, given the site's relationship with existing properties adjoining the site. The local highway authority have not raised any concern as a result of the proposed development. Overall, the scheme is considered to be acceptable and is therefore recommended for approval. Members' attention is drawn to late representations, which refers to condition 2 and the amendment to the plan drawings. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Catherine. Members, there's no local member here.
No speaker?
No, there are no speakers or anything this evening. Councillor Richard.
No speaker against it, and because we have been told it's not black development, I will go with officer advice.
So you're proposing approval?
Yes, please.
And you're seconding, are you? Okay, so we have a proposal and a seconder. Anybody else wish to speak? No. It'd be very quick if this happened, then. So we have a proposal the application be approved, which has been seconded. All those in favour, please show. It's unanimous. Thank you. The application is approved. The second application, which is 0557, is in Chapel Banton.
This is an application for the construction of the North West Relief Road, but it's an application that is currently being considered by the County Council. We are just a consultee on this application, so we're not the determining authority. The North West Relief Road pretty much starts at Windhover, where you see with the plans that there is a proposed new roundabout, and then it goes towards Sandy Lane. Again, another roundabout is proposed there, and it heads towards Paddington Grange, stroke the new Sandy Lane. So it goes along the south side of the existing golf course. It is for a 1.6k or a mile length of a single carriageway road to link the Paddington Way. It will include the creation of 2 new roundabouts, as mentioned, various drainage and flood compensation features, bridges over the existing railway and river, alterations to public rights-of-way, a new pedestrian cycle path, landscaping and limited street lighting. The road will be constructed as an embankment, so it will be raised up. This is due to the railway and river crossing, as well as it being sited on a floodplain. There are a number of strategic benefits and potential adverse local impacts as a result of this development. The benefits include delivering the road infrastructure necessary to enable the development of sustainable urban extensions, which a number have got permission for already. The impacts include the visual impact of the road itself, the increased local traffic, noise and air quality impacts. Some of the impacts are considered to be shorter term, pending the construction of the Northampton Northern Orbital Road. On balance, it is considered the strategic benefits outweigh any adverse impacts, having regard to the various mitigation measures proposed and the intention of the wider strategic route. It is considered that the application should be supported or no objection in principle, provided the imposition of appropriate planning conditions, including the mitigation to ecology, air quality, noise, etc., as set out in the report. Members' attention is drawn to the late representations. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Catherine. Members. Councillor Daventry?
Yes, I was briefed as a county councillor about that because it's important for the Northamptonshire orbital, the Northampton, because it has an impact on Brixworth and somehow we need to move on. 2 things I would like to say, because I say that to the officer at the county. First, we have not been innovative because we don't use any kinetic energy, and on that road where we could have used you could have use some panel on the road, and that would have provided the electricity for the developments or for something else. So that for me, it's a lack of a vision to be friendly or friendlier than it is. And secondly, I am pleased to know that they say that it's very important that the Brunton Valley Way is protected. And I will absolutely say it is essential that the Brunton Valley Way, on its entirety from here up to Northamptonshire, is protected as cycling route 6. Because I think it is a beautiful part of our county and could be used much more if it could be maintained. So I have nothing else to say except the lack of vision with kinetic energy, and I will support the Brunton Valley Way. And as far as the bridge is concerned, it's a bit long, but I hope we will have all the mitigation for the visual impact.
Thank you. Councillor Ritchie.
Just at this point, Chair, point of order. Well, I find what Councillor Irving's surface to say very interesting. The application is put to us from the County Council.
Correct.
What therefore is the situation with people like yourself? as county councillors.
Right. We
Education.
have our interests are declared at this council and county council. In fact, I'm down as a member of a development control committee, which I haven't been to for 2 years because of the fact that I can't get around to the site visits or anything. So I don't go to development control council. So I wouldn't be making the decisions there. It's like this council, the planning committee, development control committee and county council have delegated powers. So when an application goes to them, the committee decide it. It doesn't go to full council. So any councillor that's a county councillor, there's 2 of us here, won't take part in the decision-making process. Councillor.
Can I ask please, it says in the notes here that the White Hills and Spring Park Residents Association, they conducted a traffic survey, and it said that it's their view that the assessment clearly exposes flaws in the traffic survey and data analysis conducted by NCC Highways, and that it proves that the NWWR plan is not fit for purpose and must be halted to prevent a range of highly negative impacts on the area of Kingsthorpe.
That is a view that's held by not only that group, but several other groups around Northampton. And it's an opinion that they hold and have, and they will, at their appropriate time, put their views forward.
Okay.
One could argue that their traffic problem at Harleston and Chapel Brampton, if you go on the 428 from Harleston to Chapel Brampton in the morning and the evening, you'll see what it's like. Will be passed on to the next stage along, which is just where that group is situated. So it will be passed along until the new road is built. There will be a problem there, but it is one stage further on. Who's next? Oh yes, Councillor James is next.
Thank you, Chair. Well, just to say, I think this is long overdue, and the sooner we ever get on with this, the better, really. And I suppose the most impressive thing in that report is the benefits cost ratio, which I think is about 7 or something like that, which says it all. We know that over the course of time it's going to come up, well, to use the planner's old maxim, build a new road and we need to build another. But then of course, when that northern orbital road is done, things may fall into line quite nicely then. But it is long overdue. I mean, I've been cutting through there for donkeys years, even before it became a problem, even before Northern Park was damaged, and cut through a lot of that along the old back roads there. Yes, I'm all for this one. Northampton needs it.
Thank you. Sorry, I haven't got the right council. Which council was next? Councillor Alex, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a couple of comments really. I want to echo the comments made by Councillor Swift. It's good to see that the Brampton Valley Way is noted as an important cycle pathway. It somewhat conflicts with the West Northants consultation document, in which there's dialogue about reopening that as a branch line between Northampton and Market Harbour. Potentially, it is only an idea as I understand it, although potentially quite advanced. So I will completely echo comments made about keeping that as a cycleway, and that would definitely allay concerns of residents about further residential development along that pathway. The second point I would like to make is there are 2 comments about this being a special landscape area and green wedges, EN10 and EN1. It does seem that this overrides it completely, which sort of calls into question slightly the benefit of special landscape areas, because again we have the same issue further up the valley. And again, residents are concerned in that area generally about the removal of special landscape destination. So they're really observations, comments to note rather than anything else. It would seem that we are consultees as opposed to having any decision making on this effectively. So just want to make those points.
Thank you. Catherine, you want to come back on that?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. All impacts of development are considered, including the impact on special landscape areas, including the green wedge. Yes, it's also on the floodplain, so in the sense that there's quite a lot
going on.
But given sort of the strategic, the overall arching purpose of this road and the future road, which I understand the county are wanting to progress with the NNOR, or the Northampton Northern Orbital Road, it would lead to a lot of benefits. So overall, those benefits have to be weighed, and we consider, there are going to be impacts, but the benefits outweigh those impacts. And again, we're not the determining authority, so...
I guess it's about the precedent.
Thank you. Councillor Leslie.
Thank you, Chair. Some of this has already been said, and as we are consultees, I just hope everything goes forward that we say, really. I think everything's been pretty valid so far on both directions. We want to help traffic out. You can see, though, this is just going to cause a problem further down the road than where the problem is already. Anyone that uses this road on a regular basis knows what it's like at both ends of it, and in the middle for that matter. So we're not really doing anything here apart from causing some grief at either end again. And the usual thing is probably the poor design of roundabouts again without proper inflows and outflows, which actually just stops traffic dead from all directions. So it will probably be worse than the current T-junction traffic light system that's at that end. And I really, really do think that highways should look at mitigating on those roundabouts, because just go and look at the roundabouts all around the county, pretty much every one of them is a disaster, including all the new ones. For instance, just go and look at Toaster, for instance, millions of pounds spent on it to virtually no effect, because no one thinks about the proper lane layout, and we just do it again and again and again and again. And I'm not saying it would solve every problem, but it does need to be looked at sensibly. And that is my slight worry about the pedestrian and cycleway, because it's right on the hub, the start of the... It's not even the start of the Brampton Valley Way, because that actually runs straight into town.
Yes, it does.
And then you get another issue there where people can't actually cross the road and get on it. So, it is what it is, but can we just ask everyone to do their best to make the flows a little bit better and a little bit easier? Thank you.
I agree with you totally on the roundabout bit. At the moment, it's difficult at peak times to go to Northampton on the 428 with people crossing it, stopping you from going. So when there'll be 5 times the amount of traffic going on,
Exactly.
it'll be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Right, the next person is Councillor Dabbs.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Sort of develop in some respects on what Councillor Wesley is saying. I mean, it's ensuring that obsolescence is not built in at the design stage. But what I picked up in the narrative is that this will be a single carriageway which will be able to be dualled later on. And I just wonder precisely what that actually means, because I'm thinking that wasn't the floor bypass meant to be able to be dualled later? You shake your head. Okay, so what does it actually mean? Does that mean the width of the embankments will be wide enough for a dual carriageway? The width of the cuttings will be wide enough? The bridges will be wide enough? Or is it just a lie, really? And it won't. It'll be a single carriageway, it'll get blocked, the roundabouts will be rubbish, and we'll all be here moaning about it in a few years' time, rather than making it good.
I think the ideal would be a dual carriageway, but it also comes down to funding, as I'm aware. So there is a potential that, this road could be dualled in the future. But at the moment, all we're looking at is a single carriageway. And the Highway Authority consider that potentially is a way to go for this part in the future. You never know what may go ahead. I note that some concerns have been raised regarding sort of the roundabouts in the local area. If you look on page 51 of the notes, you see some of the mitigation measures. Some of those mitigation measures include alterations to the roundabout to improve capacity and improve flowing around there. So there are a number of mitigation schemes to try and lessen the impact of this proposed development on the immediate local road network at the present time. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
If I'm just made one final comment, I think, as we always do with these infrastructure projects, we save a few pounds now, and then we find that we've got to spend a huge amount of money in the future. If we only had the good sense to design things and do things properly in the first place, to build in the capacity without actually build it, if you see what I mean. Make sure you've got enough land and enough space to do it, and if you need to put another track of road land, you can do it and the infrastructure is already there. Surely it's cheaper to make the space available than to create something and then try to make it bigger later, as we might have found with the M1 and so on, and all the ridiculous schemes we've got there.
So about the last time we did it was when we built the M1.
I think you're dead right, Councillor. I can remember making the same comments the day I was chairman of this council when the A14 opened, and we drove along there and thinking, it won't be long before this will be 3 carriageway, it should be 3 carriageway now. And you can see how much better it is when you get to Kettering, where it's 3 carriageway, and how bad it is before and after Kettering, where it's dual carriageway, where everybody in a car that'll do 50 miles an hour sits in the second lane. Right, next person is Councillor Frost.
Thank you. Just to recap, it's sort of from previous sessions. It's single carriageway because we can't afford to make it dual carriageway. That's the long and short of it. Is that right?
Well, we can't afford it.
We don't. I know. We as in Tudor cannot afford it.
In the sense that there's got to be some funding. If I remember reading on the County Council's website, the cost for a single carriageway is about £25 million, whereas potentially a dual carriageway is £40 million. So it's trying to get the funding for something to enable the growth of the Northampton-related development, or these sustainable urban extensions. So it is single carriageway at this stage.
Thank you. But going back to the one of the big developments that came here this time last year, nearby, Lupton Fields. The funding of this, am I right in saying it comes largely from developers, doesn't it? I remember in that meeting we were told that we need this development to fund.
This road is being paid for by development.
Yeah, it's being paid by a number of things, by the County Council, by Section 106 contributions, and also government funding as well.
It's just that there's so many houses, so many thousand houses at the moment. I'm just amazed that an extra sort of 10 million or so could have been found. That's a bit that's just a bit puzzling, but maybe it's easier to say.
Okay.
No, sorry, just on the orbital front, when you look at that picture there, it just looks odd, doesn't it? Without the blue bit, the orbital, it seems like it's a road sort of half built. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like sort of taking out a section of the M25 or something. Once again, I'm struggling to see the logic, but I presume it's because there is no logic. It's just that there's currently no money. Is that right?
And through you, Chairman, with the Northern Orbital Road, at the moment there's no preferred option which way that's going. They've got to do further work, as I understand it, on trying to find a route for that. And yes, I believe there's no current funding for that road. Yes, in an ideal world, like anything, we would love the infrastructure there all at the same time, but unfortunately it's not an ideal world. So what they're doing to try and mitigate the immediate need is to do the Northampton North West Relief Road, or North. It will link with the existing New Sandy Lane, which runs by New Dustin.
And Chairman, just to be clear on this, it's your opinion that even without that, we're still better off with this. Okay. And one final question on the roundabout, if I may. The roundabout where the new road meets the Welford Road, A1599. I've been doing some research on this, and I understand that the original proposal, the highways, albeit reluctantly, accepted there was going to be a 20-minute wait at that roundabout. Does that sound about right?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I can't confirm that.
Okay.
But in a sense, we are aware that there's going to be some immediate impacts on sort of the road network as a whole as a result of this. The county is aware of that.
Okay, because as far as I can tell, that was the case. And then once they eventually accepted that, they produced an addendum to the original transport assessment, a so-called TAA, that took it down from 20 minutes to about 20 seconds. That's in here. I've got it here, the Northampton Northwest Relief Road. I just wonder how you can go. It just seems quite a big drop to go from 20 minutes to 20 seconds. Kind of what's your take on that? And is there going to be some sort of knock-on effect nearby, vis-a-vis sort of rat runs and stuff like that?
As I said, there are some mitigation schemes being proposed to try and prevent that from happening. You never know what might happen in the sense of people driving, people go different routes, people want to sort of go the route which they're directed, some people want to go elsewhere. But the highways use sort of a modelling effect, and I'm afraid I'm not a highway engineer,
sure.
So I can't say what that model changed or how they came to that. But obviously what they are satisfied the work they've done.
Chairman, finally, one thing. I've gone through this, and I can't, talking modelling, I can't find any evidence that they, following this, these changes, that they remodelled it. The only conclusion, therefore, being that they haven't. Are you aware of any remodelling that's happened? Because in the absence of that, it seems to me like there's a lot of unknowns.
I'm not aware of any remodelling that's happened, but I am aware of the times. There are a lot of groups out that way expressing similar sort of times to you, and it is the road that comes in from Brixworth at the moment is hell of a jam in the mornings and at night at peak times already at this moment.
Yeah, clearly.
So putting an additional roundabout isn't going to help it, I don't think at all. Okay, next speaker, Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Chair. I don't see any point in opposing this proposal in its principle. If you spend your time opposing everything you didn't like, your life would be fairly miserable. But it seems that I accept the need for there being a better route around the north of Northampton. Whether this is an answer to any problem, though, is another question. If it is being built largely by developers, because there is going to be a lot more housing development around the north of Northampton, and people need to use their cars to get from where they're living to get to work. That strikes me as not the sort of model that we should be thinking about. Presumably, if this road is going to be built, it is going to be built to last for a long, long time. Decades, not centuries. But if it is going to be there for a long time, petrol-driven cars are not going to be there for a long time. You know, should we be arguing instead, should these lines across the map, should that not be a tramway? Should we not be thinking about sort of completely different solutions to how people are going to travel in future? Now, I raise these because I'm aware that there are groups around Northampton that are discussing these very issues, that are totally opposed to the idea of having a new ring road round Northampton, in the same way as I think Oxford Council opposed a new bit of motorway down in its area because they felt it wasn't a solution, it wasn't the way in which modern transport should be going in a time in which we are supposedly trying to tackle a climate emergency, certainly by 2050, if not earlier. It just seemed in principle wrong. It is not going to get rid of traffic problems and cars. It is going to add to them. It is based on the assumption that the car will be the preferred mode of transport for a long time to come. And I just feel that there's something short-sighted about it. I know that there are people in Northampton who have in the past disrupted traffic flow in the centre of Northampton because they feel that not enough is being done. And I know that they are having discussions about if this sort of project goes ahead. They will also be trying to disrupt traffic flows here. I just put that as a sort of slight, warning. I'm sure it is not going to dissuade the County Council from going ahead in trying to construct a route here. But I just feel that the thinking is very limited, that we start in the wrong place. I know that we're not in a position to come up with a completely new plan about how the society in the north of Northampton is going to be redesigned. But I just feel that we need to say something about, there is a concern, that there is an environmental concern about any project that looks like this, and anything that can be done to ameliorate the effects, we ought to be putting that in bold type.
Thank you. Councillor James.
Yes, Chairman, just to point out to one or two remarks earlier on that Daventry is among the leaders in having a bit of foresight about new roads, because most of the through roads in Daventry have been designed by government to be dualled. In fact, they can all be dualled. And certainly that new road, especially if we want to, the development link, Royal Bypass as in common parlance, we want to extend that straight through to Daventry. Most of that can be dualled as well. And when the M1 was built, it was always the case that when land was acquired by compulsory purchase or by agreement beforehand, that the Ministry of Transport used to have a right of preemption on any land within 100 foot of the road itself. And I presume that's still the case today. So they do take this into account when they are building and designing new roads. The problem for us in Northampton, of course, is its geography, with the river and the railway, and the great mistakes that were made during the 1950s, 60s and 70s, which have compounded those geographical obstructions. But certainly here in Daventry, there used to be the foresight.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor James. If nobody else wishes to speak, I need a proposal, please. And you can see what the recommendation is there. Councillor Wesley?
Proposal.
You propose that,
Yeah.
okay?
Subject to our comments going forward.
Yeah. We wish to make the comment of the cycleway on the Brampton Valley Road, which this district considers is important and should be preserved, conserved, or whatever you want to use. You're happy with that? Any other comments you wish to make? No?
I think we should have a comment on the roundabout at the very least.
Yeah.
That seems to be a major
Well, they
concern.
are very, very small and very tiny, so coming into them, trying to cross one when you've got the new road going across it will be very difficult, I think, because
Well,
that little, there'll be somebody coming all the time.
Roundabouts work when there's not much traffic, which is why I think they were invented. I don't go back as far as Councillor James does. He probably remember the original roundabouts going in. But they work, as I say, when there's no traffic. When you get lots of traffic, like at rush hour, it just jams up. I know when they put traffic lights on it, it defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it?
And left-hand turns, circumvent.
Well, we can put it.
So roundabout design,
Yeah,
Junction design might be a better expression.
future-proofing and environmental issues, I think, were the other comments made by members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, we have a proposal then that the recommendation here is no objection in principle. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor James. Right, all those in favour of that proposal, can you please show?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Right, those against? 1. The application gets the following proposal to County Council, who will make the judgment. Thank you. The next one is Abbey North, 0569.
Thank you, Chairman. I draw members' attention to the late representations in respect of very minor tweaks to the conditions set out in the report. The application for members is an application for outline planning permission. So in other words, the applicants are seeking to establish a principal industrial development on a site that was previously occupied by industrial development. As those who have been around for a while will know, this site was previously occupied by quite a substantial building which was effectively destroyed by fire and had to be removed. The owners of the site are now looking at considering their options for it in terms of redevelopment, and this application will assist in helping deliver that. But what they're considering now is delivering smaller units, or up to 4 smaller units on the site. And we judge that in principle to be acceptable, bearing in mind the council has control over subsequent reserved matters. Look, the town council have raised some concerns with respect to a number of matters in terms of HGV traffic impacting the local road network, etc. Those have been the subject of consultations with the local highway authority, conservation officer, environmental health officers, etc. We don't have any objections from those statutory consultees. Although I do note that the town council comments seem to be at odds with the support of the development of the Greenfield site next to this that members previously considered. Barring that, we're recommending the application be approved, Chairman. I'm happy to answer any questions that members may have.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, we've got 2 Abbey North members, so Councillor Ritchie, you can go first, and Councillor James, you can go second. So you are.
Yes, well, I certainly have no objection to this application. It was, after all, a large warehouse before, and I assume the only thing that is changing is instead of one big one, you're going to have a smaller ones. We're showing some lovely photographs of the pathway that goes around the back of the site. I assume that when it gets to a final application, there'll be a chance to discuss the vegetation, what is done to camouflage the rather concrete nature of many of these sites. But given that the thing that burnt down was fairly hideous, then I cannot actually see that that we can object very much to this. I think too that I find that there are not many people in Daventry that even knew that the previous building existed until it burnt down. So it's not as if it's visible to terribly many people and therefore offensive. Certainly not in Daventry. I see that in Bronson, where there might be more concern about Daventry expanding over the top of the hill, and swelling used from Bronson. There may be greater concerns, but the parish council there hasn't put in an objection, and therefore I'm quite happy to propose acceptance of officer's advice here.
Thank you very much. That's raised by Councillor Wesley, yeah, Councillor Ritchie. So we have a proposal the application be approved. I'm going to Councillor James now.
Yep. Thank you, Chairman. I'll be pleased to second this application. Ticks all the right boxes. It will be 4 smaller units compared with one larger unit. I don't accept Daventry Town Council's suggestion that it would increase the volume of traffic because that really depends upon the nature of the user. It is possible to have much more traffic generated by one single user, depending on the type of business, than 4 separate ones. So that doesn't hold up. Very pleased to see that Braunston Parish Council is happy with this. So all in all, no problem with this development at all. It's brownfield land, it's allocated for this type of development. It will provide adequate employment, and it fits in with the requirements to have smaller units within Daventry town itself. So all in all, a good scheme.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wesley, and then Councillor Matt.
Thank you, Chair. Don't want to say much more. Yeah, I mean, this was already a building. It's going next door to the other new buildings which we approved the other week. So there's not a great deal to say about it. I mean, I'd just like to say, let's just hope we can, when it comes to the final proposal, that it does fit in, i.e. the landscaping in the backlands to help Braunston and to make it nicer for the employees with the little park thing that's sort of adjacent and onto the other buildings. So yeah, I mean it's already been approved for it's already industrial land anyway and approved for it. Again, it's a little bit of a pity that we didn't put in a better access to this site when we had the chance. Another backward-looking step and not doing the right thing at the right time. Our last discussion, but we are where we are. So hey, let's carry on.
Thank you. Councillor Matt.
Thank you. I was just wondering why this wasn't a delegated approval.
It was very close, I can assure you. It's all hinged. Now, if you're at pre-meeting, that's not pre-meeting, chairman briefing, you will really, it all hinged on the fact that although Daventry Town Council made comments, their comments were planning reasons. Okay, the county council said the highways wouldn't be a problem, but nevertheless, they did. It could be argued, and it was argued. We had a difference of opinion between half of the meeting and the other half of the meeting, and we brought it to committee to make that sure. But well spotted anyway for that. So where do I get to? Councillor Daventry.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's probably not appropriate at this stage in the planning process, but I think it's worthy of noting. I'm interested, and I raised it at the last meeting, this meeting, I'll raise it again here, the carbon reduction green credentials. Maybe these are not being proposed, but I would imagine that we will get further applications for the actual design of buildings and so on. So I think we should be encouraging the developer, if we can do that sort of thing, to see things like electric vehicle charging, very high building and insulation standards, some solar PV or wind power, heat pumps, all that sort of thing that we should be looking at towards the future, and not just putting up an empty steel box that will just suck up heat and pump it out into the atmosphere because it's all gone through the roof.
Again, I think you'll find that the applicants and the development director, etc., on all these previous buildings usually get good or in excess of good BREEAM standards in terms of design, insulation of buildings, etc. Increased natural light into the buildings to reduce the need for lighting up these huge warehouses. Electric charging points are something they're actively considering, so they're quite well advanced in the game, as it were, in terms of delivering low carbon development.
And I think, to be fair, that the applicant, Prologis, is regarded as a top-class person of people that deliver, and they deliver decent development as well.
Sorry, Chair, just on that point, can that still go through though? I mean, I know that goes on the minutes, but can that be part of our response if we approve it?
Well, you can submit it as an advisory note, but you have got policies in your emerging local Part 2 local plan against which any reserve matters applications would be assessed. So, for example, you have design policies to assess applications against which those policies are designed to reducing carbon sort of emissions, etc., securing good design, securing high quality design, delivering the infrastructure that's just been referred to. So you have that safeguard throughout the reserve matters proposals, and the expectation is that those reserve matters would demonstrate compliance with those planning policies.
Chair, just thank you, Aidan, I do appreciate that. I think it's a really, really valid point, and I think we should, as a committee, take every opportunity going forward to actually pass these observations on. I don't think it does any harm whatsoever, even though we have backup.
Okay, Councillor Ritchie?
Just to inform you, the committee chair, that the entire task panel of the scrutiny committee is here within the planning committee. And these are matters that we have discussed with planning policy officers within the council. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but our understanding is at the moment it is difficult to insist on having solar panels or other forms of green energy being specified as a condition, but there is a consultation that is, I think, is currently open and is open until about sometime, is the middle of January. This is out from the government, that would change the rules, that would make it much easier, if not simply mandatory, to have as regulations what standards must be met in terms of the building quality and in terms of where the power comes from.
Well, thank you for that, Councillor Ritchie. I'm glad that the scrutiny committee, in fact, you're all here looking at that particular point, and I'm sure that will be better for better for the whole. Sorry?
I'll just add to that. Consultation responses to national consultations, they go through strategy group, but if your task panel or any individual member wanted to send something through to Simon Bowers or anyone in the business team regarding what you'd expect to see in that, then there's no reason why you can't do that at any point. We are very much limited. I know from experience that case officers do encourage good point. The applicants are actually in the room, so they're hearing this.
Good. You can't speak, but he waved his hand, so you can't get and I've got nothing to do with them at all, but I see their stuff all around the cows here. It's done right, it's done proper, and I don't think you don't see many better applicants of this kind of stuff that comes in than Prologis. So.
Perhaps the task panel would like to speak to such a big developer and feed that into their work.
Okay, we've got a proposal that the application be approved, and it's been seconded. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Okay, the application is approved. Then we go on to the review of local requirements. That sounds good, doesn't it? Catherine, that's you.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. The purpose of this report is to resolve to agree the suggested amendments to the local requirements document. The list itself is not changing, but the document has been condensed, removing fire notification, fire approval applications, and also updating legislation and links within the document itself. As a result, we do not feel that we need to go out for consultation on these, because there are no changes to the actual list or the requirements required to submit an application to us for consideration or to make it an application valid. So therefore, it's really just asking members to sort of agree with our stance that consultation is not required and agree to the review we've done as officers with local requirements. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Well, members, I need a proposal for that resolution then, please. Councillor Irving-Swift?
Yes, I propose that we go with officer advice.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Thank you. Would you wish to say anything? Okay. Anybody else wish to say anything? If not, do you all agree? That proposal? Show your hands. That's unanimous-ish. Yes, it is unanimous. That concludes the planning committee.
Chair.